Mayor. I've got all funds reflected on the screen right now, but bear with me, I have a little bit of a prelude to kick this off. So I'm pleased to present to you the 2026 annual budget. This is the first of 3 public hearings, as Mayor just stated. We will have another one scheduled for 6 p.m. tomorrow evening, and then another one on Thursday at noon. We began this budget process nearly 6 months ago, and we were coming off of a rating agency tour and re-rating process for our general obligation parks bond that was issued earlier this year. The city's strong financial management practices, as well as its growth, allowed us to maintain our credit ratings with both S&P and Moody's at AA+ and AA2. However, it was noted that the growth we've experienced in the last 5 years had resulted in operational needs and additional catch-up from a budgetary and spending standpoint. So that caused us to be spending at a deficit in 2022, 2023, and 2024. These were planned expenditures, primarily capital in nature, gave us an opportunity after COVID to catch up on many of the things that we had been kind of holding back from a financial standpoint. But moving forward, we looked at this budget process with the need to sustain our growth and to be very strategic in how we set up this budget for 2026. We are facing the same cost increases and inflation, health and benefit insurance costs as every organization in the country. And we are also looking at a little bit more slowed growth trends in Metro Atlanta compared to the past 5 years. So as part of that, we asked all of our departments when they were planning their budget for 2026 to do a reduction or to look for opportunities to reduce their budget. Unsurprisingly, we're a pretty lean organization, and so that was very challenging to get a specific percentage from each department. I want to commend our staff for doing a fantastic job identifying cuts where they could. We were able to balance this budget at a flat budget over last year at $35.9 million. And so I believe that this budget is focused on strategic investments, provides the city with the operational abilities that it needs to maintain over time. This is also at a proposed millage rate of 6.25 mils, which we will not set until June of next year, but this is a projection based off of that millage rate. Briefly, this is some highlights for the 2026 general fund budget. You'll see increases to health insurance and ancillary benefit coverage for employees. I believe we're at approximately 7% increase versus what was the original 31% increase, and that was, of course, due to the change in carriers that you all approved in October. But we will still see those cost increases reflected in this budget. Continued investment in renewable energy infrastructure and city facilities. You'll see an increased debt service due to the purchase of our properties on Broad Street and the new public works facility, as well as financing of Fishbowl Park. Those were all issued in 2024, and we are starting to see that debt service in 2025 and 2026. This budget also includes investments in the Real-Time Crime Center with additional technology through Flock and Axon agreements, as well as the investment in an investigator to staff our Real-Time Crime Center. We are going to be procuring a budgeting software to consolidate our budget requests and manage our budgets throughout the year with a more streamlined budget reporting for staff, elected officials, and the public. I also want to note that that gives us a little bit more of an opportunity to transparently report our budget activity as well. We're looking at increasing operating costs to cover utilities and technology systems at our new facilities, including Dresden Park's community room and our new public works facility when it comes online. This budget also includes the investment in an economic development strategic assessment in partnership with Georgia Tech, as well as a pretty substantial increased cost for citywide custodial services. Facilities was one area of the budget that really could not see any realized cost savings just because it had been catch-up years for so long. We actually did not establish a facilities department until 2023, apologize. We'll continue to see funding investments in the nonprofit partnership program, our neighborhood engagement programs, as well as increased investments in events included expanded events for, in celebration of the FIFA World Cup in 2026. We'll also see an increased investment in partnered events as well. So here is your 2026 proposed general fund budget by department. And then by department, this is actually unconsolidated. Usually all the administrative functions are consolidated, so it looks a lot more chaotic than it typically does. But of course, our biggest operating costs are public safety, administrative services, and then public works as well. And then here are your special revenue funds, and I will go over primarily your capital investment under special revenues, but I do want to note that this is a substantial increase over your special revenues in 2025 due to that issuance of your Parks General Obligation Bond, so $30 million roughly incorporated into your special revenue program. Like I said, significant highlights for your special revenues funds. Again, 10% allocation for hotel, motel, and their public arts projects, as well as some additional allocation in that hotel, motel fund for events in preparation of the FIFA World Cup in 2026. We are finally moving into the stage of right-of-way acquisition for Rail Trail 7 through 12. So you'll see $1.2 million in our multiple grants fund. There's actually a transfer from our SPLOST to cover, and then the match will be included in that multiple grants fund. Rail Trail 7 through 12 is actually paid for out of that multiple grants fund. So $1.2 million anticipated next year as we start to do the right-of-way acquisition to get that project moving. And then you'll also see within that multiple grants fund the continuation of our safety action plan as we finish that scope of work out in early 2026. Downtown SSD, we've incorporated some funding to do the design and engineering of the City Hall City Hall South Lawn green space, so this area just to the left of me, to the right of y'all. The design and engineering costs for that after we went through the design SHREP process on the master plan earlier this year. Personal services for additional maintenance and police personnel that has been budgeted out of that fund since it was created. The cost of the flock cameras on the rail trails. And then there's some maintenance items, including some updated benches across downtown, some issues with the turf at the rideshare park, and some enhanced landscaping. Dresden Plaster SSD, we have funded phase 2 of the Dresden Trail project. The design and engineering would be budgeted out of that fund, as well as a maintenance technician for Arrow Creek and Dresden Park, and then some additional crosswalk and enhanced safety site improvements along Dresden Drive and Plaster Road. The big one here being SPLOST. So we will continue, like I said, to do the matching funds for the Rail Trail 7 through 12 project, which has been ongoing for probably almost 5 years now. We will continue with Broad Street and the Chamblee-Dunwoody Road Diets. Those will be the two big projects that will eat up your SPLOST fund for 2026. We do have allocations for police vehicle and equipment replacement, which is built into that 2023 renewal of SPLOST. Parsons Drive and Perimeter Park Connector property acquisition is included in this, as well as the final elements of the Dresden Park Community Room. As we're wrapping up that project, there's an allocation of Dresden Park Community Room that was budgeted out of SPLOST. So that's just a carryover into next year so we can close out those projects. We'll do a conversion of Plaza Way to a one-way road included in that SPLOST budget, and then of course your 2026 paving projects. We are in the process right now of doing our paving analysis, which is a 5-year update to the previous analysis that was done, and we will be using that to generate our next paving list and circulate that amongst the group and hopefully have everything ready to go by summer of next year. And then lastly, the construction of Dresden Trail from Shallowford Road to Dresden Park. And then the big one as well is your GO bond that was issued this year. Of course, as you know, design, engineering, and construction of Huntley Hills Park, design, engineering, and construction of the Nancy Creek Trail and Savoy Trail, design, engineering, and construction of Woodacres and South Chamblee Park, Woodacres/South Chamblee Park, and design, engineering, and construction of Keswick Park Master Plan implementation. And then here is your enterprise funds, which are your stormwater utility and your solid waste funds. So major items for enterprise is your stormwater inventory and assessment. You all approved that contract last month. Roughly $500,000 to complete that scope of work. They have approximately $1.5 million in repairs scheduled for our stormwater infrastructure. There's debt service included in that fund as well. And then the last thing I wanted to highlight was the increase to commercial and residential sanitation fees. We are proposing an increase to the sanitation fee this year to reduce the annual deficit that fund runs. As you know, it typically runs a deficit and is subsidized by our general fund. And to relieve some of the pressure on the general fund, we are proposing an annual cost increase of approximately $70 per year for the next 3 years. So customers in 2026 will pay $355 for their sanitation services next year, and then it will go up to $495 per year by 2028. Without this rate increase, the general fund will need to subsidize the sanitation fund by approximately $1.1 million. So in addition to that, we also do have some existing commercial sanitation services that we provide. They have a flat rate structure and of $23.75 per month. We are proposing going to $30 per month, plus the addition of $8 per month for every additional cart that business has. Currently, they just pay a flat rate of $23.75 per month. So this will result in approximately $30,000 in increased revenue to that budget as well. And that is all I've got.
Very good. Anyone here wishing to speak in regards to the public hearing on the budget? For or against? Seeing none, I'll open it up to mayor and council for discussion, and I'll just say thank you, kudos to you guys for doing such a great job on this. We appreciate it. Always good to have a balanced budget and not be suffering too much in the process. So.
Hear, hear.
You think so? All right.
No, just to say, I mean, the job gets harder every year for us. But again, thank you to you and your team for, finding ways to make it make sense and to still be fair for our residents.
Good. All right. I'll open it up to public comment on any item. The mayor is the presiding officer. All remarks shall be addressed to the city council as a body, not to individual members. Come to the microphone, give your name and address to the city clerk. Limit remarks to 3 minutes. Not speak a second time until everyone has spoken once, and no one can speak more than twice. Please do not speak unless you have the microphone and have been recognized. Anyone here wishing to speak in public comment on any item? All right, seeing none. Executive session? No? All right, very good. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Good. All right.